We talked about in wholesaling real estate, we are doing virtual wholesaling, right? We have to shift our marketing a little, right? We got to change it a little. When we do our acquisitions, we sort of have to change it a little bit too. The fundamentals of wholesaling is the same, but we got to change it just a tad, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about virtual acquisitions. Now you can see where my son gets his handwriting from.
Yeah.
So you have to think on acquisitions, the one differentiator is you're not physically with them. So I'm here to tell you, if you're brand new and you want to do virtual, I'm just going to go through some basics. So number one, let's just establish some basic rules, because we are using the phone. That is our power vehicle. So you're going to use the 80-20 rule. If you don't know it, go over to freewholesaling.com. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. You need to use it accordingly. The better you can listen, the more intel you're going to get from your sellers, and it's easier to gather that intel to structure a deal. If you constantly dominate the conversation and you don't hear your sellers out, you're never going to be able to qualify. So if you know you're a big talker, this is hard. You have to talk 20% of the time and not 80. Mm-hmm. Why? Because you can't gather intel and you can't listen to people if your mouth is always running. You have to understand. So if you're a big talker, you're going to have to adapt. I had to adapt when I did this. It took a huge shift in my mind, and you have to do it. Now, for those of you that don't talk, this should be like really easy. Now, the 20% has to be very targeted, qualifying questions. And I'm going to get deep into that. So before we get into it, and then the other one is ego. You just got to lose it, man.
Yeah.
Your ego is your self-image of yourself, and it always has to be right. And trying to always be right is not going to get you anywhere in wholesaling. Honestly, it's going to tear you apart. So you want your sellers to always feel right. That's your job. And remember, this is not a sales job, guys. All you are is taking action. You're going through your list, and now you're getting them on the phone and understanding your disadvantages. You can't physically see them. Now, why is it an advantage to see somebody in person? I can see their eye contact. I can see their posture. I can see the house. I can see a lot of stuff. So you really have to be hyper tuned in on the phone. Now, before you get into it, if you're brand new, here's what I want you to understand. We're now talking about talking to sellers. If you don't practice, it's going to be painful.
Talking about practice?
Talking about practice. Who was that?
Iverson.
You have to practice. I can do the Kobe and Jordan story all day long. Like, nobody's an overnight sensation. How do you practice? Number one, start with a mirror, move over to your family, friends, and then step it up. Just go over to Zillow Fizbo. I don't even care if you don't have an intention of buying the house. Just start to have at least a couple hundred conversations. Why? Because you're going to hear every objection. You're going to screw up, and that's the time to screw up. Not when you have these really hot lists and go, oh my God, what do I do with a probate? I don't know what to do. So just get the awkwardness out of the way. So now that we have it out of the way, now you're ready to graduate, which Zach talked about earlier on your list. Earned. That's where I'd love you to start. So now we're talking about the phone. We're talking about acquisitions. Your job is to connect with the rapport, which is to find commonality and then turn them into conversations. This is the big secret. So since you can only do it on the phone, it's important you are dialed into what you're saying. So if you practice, you're going to sound a lot smoother. If you don't practice, it's going to be rough. And here's another challenge for you. Me and Zach do these lives at least 3 times a week. Jump on here. I'll do a role play with you, because
4 times with all the channels.
4 times. You have to practice. A lot of you are like, well, I'm inexperienced. I go, I don't care. How much did you practice? And 9 times out of 10, well, I'm starting now. Dude, I'm the last guy you want to practice with. Is you've got to go through and you've got to get the experience in doing it. Now, I want you to understand this. Well, let's get into some of the really key differences. So here's the keys for virtual wholesaling on ACK. Number 1,
ACK, acquisitions.
I'm
You're trying to make a new thing.
So you have to qualify. Okay. You guys understand, in wholesaling, you're going to disqualify more than you qualify. That's just it. Talk to 10 people, 9 are probably going to kick you to the curb. You're fine with that. Well, Rick, how do I qualify? Well, first thing, you go to freewholesaling.com. I'm going to go into depth with it because I don't have time to do everything here. But you're basically going to learn MCTP. So motivation, condition, time frame, and price. And remember, price is not really a qualifier. It just helps you qualify. It actually is a disqualifier, in my opinion, if it's like a crazy price. But remember, I don't care what price they shoot out. I'm looking for motivated sellers. So if you know you're qualifying for motivated sellers, please, guys, only work with motivated sellers, because as much as you think you can spend 5 hours with a retail seller, you're not getting anywhere. Volume does not help with retail seller. I'm going to repeat it. Volume is not going to help you with retail sellers. If you are spending tens and hundreds of hours with people that aren't motivated, you are going to drive yourself nuts.
Yeah.
So you got to find motivated sellers. So once we go through and we find motivation, hey, I need to get the house sold. It's got deferred maintenance. And guys, remember, your lists are automatically targeting these people anyways. Unless you downloaded an MLS list or you went on and just did FSBOs with no qualifications, you are going to find motivation in there. So remember, we talked about the quality list. Now, once you have quality, you can churn up volume. Here's the key. You come to an agreement and they say, listen, well, can you come over in person? Biggest objection you have on it. What do you say to these people, guys? Tell me in the comments, because I want to know, because this is the biggest objection you're going to get in virtually. And honestly, I struggled with this when I first did it. I'm like, I thought I had to get on a plane and go look at every property. You don't. And say, listen, here's what I'd like to do. If we can come to an agreement on price and you're comfortable with the contract, is we are going to have an agreement over the phone. And once we have an agreement, so I don't waste your time and my time, then I'm going to come out, have someone take a look at the property. And that way we know we have a deal. But without that upfront agreement, I can't come out and look at the house. So let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. You're going to have to use this strategy unless you want to get on and spend thousands of dollars on plane tickets and eat up weeks of your time. It works. And why not? Why wouldn't they want to have an agreement up front with you and you have an agreement up front with them? That way, all you have to do is get through a simple inspection. That's simply how I say it to all of them. You're going to have to overcome the objections, the biggest one. Then you're going to come down to signing a contract. And this is where most of you drop the ball. You get so excited that they've verbally agreed with you. You're like, oh my God, what do I do? And here's what a lot of you do. You just send over the contract and go, hey, Mr. Seller, could you sign that and get it back to me? No. You can't. You've put all this effort in. You've researched markets. You've paid for list. You've cold called. You've skipped trace. You've got an agreement. You've sorted through all the people that
got them to agree to a price. That's 90% of the battle.
You're at the final pivot. You're on the 2.5 yard line. You're going for a 2-point conversion here, okay? Stay on the phone.
Yes.
Till signed.
2 reasons for that. Number one, it's annoying. It's like, okay, I want to get this guy off the phone, but the only way I get him off the phone is to sign. I'm just going to sign it. The issue, guys, I want you to understand when it comes to the reason why we say this is because you have to understand that sellers, they're not motivated sellers because they're the most proactive people in the world, right? Mm-hmm. They got some problems. But the thing is, a lot of them, maybe they 100% procrastinated on deferred maintenance on the property, right?
Yep.
Oh, I'll fix it up later. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to say, I'm going to sign that agreement later. I'm a little busy right now. My kid's got a soccer game. I'll do it later.
Yeah.
And they're like,
So
I don't know if I want to sign it right now.
The only way to truly get to the accountable part is you just got to walk them through it and just listen. I can't get off the phone until you do this because I think you're going to forget about it. You got a lot going on. And for me to get this process going, let's just go ahead and get your autograph. We'll move on. I just need to get your okay. Avoid the word signature, contract,
use autograph.
Go to freewholesaling.com.
Yeah.
We teach all the words to avoid. There. But guys, you put in all this work in virtual marketing. Most of you are missing these last 2 things. Basically, how to overcome the objection to come in person, and then actually walking them through physically signing the contract. And if you'll do this, your closing and conversion rate will go way up. But you cannot just trust a motivated seller, because how many times do I tell you, your job is to help the motivated seller get out of their own way. Here's just the truth. I'm going to give you a truth bomb here. Most motivated sellers are in a position because they just made a rash, short decision and they keep freaking out and they don't want to make another bad decision. Although they have to sell the house because they can't afford and they can't do the maintenance. And you know they're going to eventually have to sell the house. So help the seller get out of their own way and always go back. So when they freak out, you always bring back people to the center. Go, listen, Judy, the reason you contacted me because you said you can't handle another day in this house. You can't handle the stress and the bills, and you want a clean start. You want to get that money. You want to go see your sister. By signing this agreement, by doing this over the phone, I can go ahead and start that process, and we can start that beautiful vision in your head. Are you with me? Great. Click that button and just incentivize them. And I keep selling the dream on where they're going to be. Remember, I'm not selling them. I'm just selling them on a vision of giving them peace of mind. If you've ever, listen, guys, I've been a motivated seller a few times in my life. It happens. It happens to everybody. And I want you to understand that the reason they're in this position, because they constantly delay every decision. That's why the house is in such bad shape. So you have to fix that part. On the last one, I want you to understand, this is the big one. Everyone says, well, Rick, I lack experience.
Oh, I get that so much.
Okay. Or I'm too young.
Oh, yeah.
So this was one of Zach's, like his mental blocks when he first started. I said, Zach, like, I'm just like looking, I go, so you're talking to like a 53-year-old man here. I'm just telling you guys, I would do anything to jump back into like a time machine to get into your age and start this at the age we're talking about. So you have to look at it. Yes, you are inexperienced. You have a plan to get the experience. How do you get experience? You talk to a lot of sellers. You start by practicing, switching over to Zillow Fizbos, and then switching over to your earn list and your paid list. So what? The only person that believes you lack experience is you. Because if you're in this to truly help people and make win-win situations, and you're not going to lie to people, remember, if you ever have a question, me and Zach are here, you're going to have a title company, you're going to have we teach you how to have an entire support team. I tell you never to lie to people. And if you don't have an answer, go get it. But here's the key, guys. Whatever you lack in experience and age, there is one factor that overcomes all that. You ready? It's flat out enthusiasm. And enthusiasm is really just a code word for attitude. And I'm talking about a great attitude. I'm going to tell you right now, I've been in business a long time in real estate. I have other businesses too. If someone's terribly inexperienced, nobody's thrilled like to do it. But if they have confidence and they are a joy to be around and they make the experience pleasant, I will always give them a shot. And your sellers are no different. I can't tell you how many times I started, it goes, I don't know if you know what you're doing, Rick, but I really love your attitude and it looks like you really want to help me out. So if you can do what you say you're going to do, I want to do a deal with you. And more times than often when I was teaching Zach the business, same thing. I'm like, Zach, all you do is got to win them over. And how many times did you get pounded on your age?
A lot, but honestly, all I
tell them what your line is. That
every single time. I didn't come up with it, but it's like, okay, Mr. Seller, they're like, oh, you're way too young. You're super young. Yeah, is my age, if I have the money to buy a property for cash, is my age going to affect me buying your house right now? If I have the money right now, is my age going to affect it? No. That's it.
Yeah.
Guys, I tell a lot of people, not a lot of people understand that Alexander the Great was 21, 22 years old when he ruled Northern Macedonia as the emperor and then conquered pretty much the known world, all of Persia, Babylon, literally Egypt. There's a reason why he did that. Do you think at 22 he let his age stop him from conquering pretty much? There's a reason why we know about him. All right. Do we know about, Philip II, his dad? Not a lot of people know about his dad, but you don't really know many kings from his time. But we all pretty much know Alexander the Great. Pretty much everyone, he was 22. You think he let his age stop him? No way. Right. Who is it? Joan the Arc, 17. We still know about Joan the Arc. Does anybody else know about the 100 Years' War or the Rose War? Back in those, no one knows, but everyone still knows about Joan the Arc, and she was 17. She commanded army in France, right? She was pretty cool, but we know about them. Did they say, I'm too young to do this? No, they took it. They all had one thing though. I'll tell you this: they all had confidence, and that's the key that nobody ever talks about. It's all about confidence. It's insane.
So guys, if you're young, if you're 16, 17, I don't care. Numbers just an age, really. It's really how you project yourself and how you care for others. And if anyone ever tells you you're too young, honestly, it's a compliment because you got more time to grow and improve than most other people. And you got to look at your youth as an asset. And the minute it goes off your mind, like, wow, I'm thinking like this, I want to help people out and I'm this young. Imagine when I get to Zach's age or I get to Rick's age, it's going to be unbelievable. Youth is amazing. The more enlightened you are, the younger you become at it, the more things that you can truly do to help your family out, to help sellers out. And I'm here to tell you, don't get insulted because a lot of you, you're like, oh my God, they're going to tell me I'm too young. It's not. It's an asset. Use it. And whatever you lack in experience, if you can make it up with a great attitude, I can't tell you how many times I go to business. I get people that have no idea what they're doing, but if they have a great attitude, I always give them leniency and I give them the benefit of the doubt. Once they got a nasty attitude, it's a whole different ballgame. And I want you to understand that you are in absolute control of your attitude, how you show up every day, how you look at everything. Either you look at it as a lesson or a problem. If you look at everything as a problem, you're never going to avoid problems. You go hide in a cave, you're going to have a problem. The cave's going to leak. It's going to be dark. It's going to be cold. You're going to have a house. You got mortgage. You got utilities. You got snowstorms. You got hurricanes. It's just on how you view it. So guys, whatever you lack in experience, just like make it up in enthusiasm. And
I agree.
It will overcome a lot of these obstacles.
100%. And so the one thing I think a lot of people have to practice is that objection to virtual wholesaling. So it's like, oh, can you just come by and see the house? Or when are you going to come by and see the house? Remember, practice this line. Hey, I'd love to go see the house, but the way our company works is we get the agreement done first so we don't waste your time or my time. And then we'll go out and look at the property. That is it, right? So remember, guys, yes, someone's going to go by the house, the boots on the ground, right? But we have to get the agreement done first so we don't waste each other's time. That is it, all right?